As the rain pattered softly against the stained glass windows of St. Mary's Church in suburban Chicago, Theodore stood alone by the casket, his hands trembling as he adjusted the single white lily he'd placed on top. No aunts, no uncles, no cousins. Not a single familiar face from the family he'd once called his own had shown up to say goodbye to Grandma Eleanor. But as the lawyer arrived later that afternoon with the will in hand, Theodore realized this was no accident. It was her final, masterful stroke against the hypocrisy that had torn them apart. Theodore had always been Eleanor's favorite, the quiet boy who spent summers in her cozy bungalow, listening to her stories of the old days while baking apple pies. She was the one who held him when he came out at 17, whispering that love was love, no matter what the world said. The rest of the family? They turned their backs faster than a Midwest storm rolls in. His parents disowned him, calling it a phase, a sin, something to pray away. Aunts and uncles followed suit, erasing him from holiday cards and family gatherings. Eleanor fought them all, but her voice grew weaker with age, her body frail from years of battling cancer. Now, at 28, Theodore was a graphic designer in the city, living a life far from the judgmental eyes of his kin. He'd built a new family of sorts. Friends, a supportive community, and Jamie, his partner of 3 years, who stood by him now in the empty funeral parlor. Jamie squeezed Theodore's hand as the lawyer, Mr. Hargrove, cleared his throat and began reading the will. To my beloved grandson, Theodoriander Thompson, I leave my home, my savings, and the family heirlooms, provided he oversees the distribution as I stipulate. Theodore's heart swelled. He knew she'd take care of him. But then came the bombshell. To my children and their families, I leave the remainder of my estate, valued at over $2 million, on one condition. They must reconcile with Theodoriander, attend a family therapy session focused on acceptance, and publicly support a local LGBTQ+ charity event he organizes. Failure to comply within 6 months forfeits their shares to said charity. The room, though empty, felt charged with unspoken fury. Theodore glanced at Jamie, whose eyes widened in shock. This wasn't just a will. It was a gauntlet thrown down from beyond the grave. Word spread like wildfire through the family group chat Theodore had long been removed from. His mother, Linda, was the first to call, her voice laced with venom. What kind of manipulative nonsense is this? Your grandmother was senile. Theodore hung up, his chest tight. He hadn't spoken to her in years. Not since she told him he wasn't welcome at Thanksgiving unless he got right with God. His father, a stoic accountant, followed with a text. We'll fight this in court. It's coercion. Aunts and uncles chimed in via emails, accusing Eleanor of favoritism, of using her death to push a liberal agenda. Theodore felt a mix of vindication and sorrow. Eleanor had seen their true colors long ago. The way they'd shunned him at his high school graduation, whispered behind his back at reunions. Now her will forced them to confront it. That evening, back in their small apartment overlooking Lake Michigan, Theodore paced the living room while Jamie brewed tea. She knew this would happen, Theodore said, his voice breaking. She wanted them to choose money or their prejudices. Jamie pulled him into a hug, his warmth an anchor in the storm. They'd met at a pride event, Jamie a teacher with a gentle smile and a passion for history. Their relationship was built on quiet moments like this, not grand gestures, but the kind of love that weathered real life. Whatever happens, we're in this together, Jamie murmured. Theodore nodded, but doubt crept in. What if this dragged them into a legal battle? What if the family lashed out harder? The next few weeks were a whirlwind. Theodore hired a lawyer of his own, a sharp woman named Ms. Rivera who specialized in estate disputes. Your grandmother's will is airtight, she assured him. But expect pushback. Families like this don't change easily. Sure enough, the relatives banded together, pooling resources for a challenge. Uncle Bob, the loudest critic, a retired cop from the suburbs, rallied them with tales of how Eleanor had gone soft in her old age. She wasn't herself after that hippie phase in the 60s. He grumbled at a family meeting Theodore wasn't invited to. They filed a motion claiming undue influence, painting Theodore as the manipulator who'd poisoned her mind. Amid the tension, Theodore threw himself into planning the charity event, a fundraiser for a youth shelter supporting LGBTQ+ kids. It was Eleanor's idea, scribbled in a letter attached to the will. Make them see the faces they've ignored. Jamie helped, designing flyers and reaching out to friends. One night, as they stuffed envelopes, Jamie paused. Are you sure you want this? It could reopen old wounds. Theodore sighed. It already has. But maybe it's worth it, if even one of them changes. Deep down, he hoped for reconciliation. A fairy tale ending where his parents apologized, where the family healed. But reality bit hard when his cousin Sarah, the only one who'd ever been kind in secret, texted, I'm sorry, Theodore. Dad won't let me get involved. It's too controversial. The court date loomed, but before that, the family demanded a meeting at Eleanor's old house, now Theodore's. He agreed, hoping for dialogue. They arrived in a convoy of SUVs, faces stern. Linda burst in first. How dare you let her do this? Forcing us to parade in some gay pride nonsense. Theodore stood firm. It's not about parading. It's about acceptance. Grandma wanted us to be a family again. Arguments erupted, accusations of brainwashing, debates over religion versus rights. Uncle Bob shouted about traditional values, while Aunt Clara wept about losing her inheritance to strangers. Jamie stayed in the kitchen, listening, his heart aching for Theodore. In the end, no one budged. As they left, his father pulled Theodore aside. Son, drop this. Come back to church, find a nice girl. We can forget the past. Theodore's eyes stung. Dad, the past is why we're here. I can't change who I am. The door slammed, leaving silence. That night, Theodore cried in Jamie's arms, questioning if Eleanor's plan was a gift or a curse. The will had exposed their faces, all right, the masks of conditional love cracking under greed. The legal battle kicked off in a stuffy Cook County courtroom, where the air hummed with tension thicker than Chicago fog. Theodore sat beside Ms. Rivera, Jamie in the gallery offering silent support. The family's lawyer, a slick man named Mr. Donnelly, painted Eleanor as vulnerable, swayed by Theodore's lifestyle choices. She was isolated, influenced by her grandson's agenda, he argued, words dripping with implication. Theodore's stomach churned. It was like being outed all over again, his life dissected for strangers. Ms. Rivera countered fiercely, presenting letters from Eleanor detailing her sound mind and unwavering support for Theodore. This will is a reflection of her values. Equality, love, redemption, she said. Testimonies followed. Linda took the stand, tears flowing as she claimed Eleanor had always been traditional, until Theodore confused her. We loved our mother, but this isn't her, she sobbed. Theodore watched, a pang of pity mixing with anger. Had she forgotten the times Eleanor defended him? Uncle Bob ranted about societal decay, how forcing participation in those events violated their freedoms. The judge, a no-nonsense woman in her 50s, listened impassively. When Theodore testified, his voice steady despite the nerves, he shared stories of Eleanor's kindness. The way she'd march in pride parades in her 70s, waving a rainbow flag. She wanted healing, not punishment, he said. The courtroom fell quiet, the weight of her legacy hanging heavy. Outside court, the media caught wind. Local news ran segments. Grandma's will Sparks family feud over gay rights. Protests formed, supporters with signs reading Love Wins, opponents chanting about family values. Theodore and Jamie's life became a spectacle. Paparazzi snapped photos as they left their apartment. This is bigger than us now, Jamie said one evening, scrolling through comments online. Some praised Eleanor's boldness, others called it blackmail. Theodore nodded, exhausted. I just want it over. But the exposure bonded them closer. Late nights talking about dreams, fears, the future they wanted. A quiet wedding, maybe kids through adoption. As the case dragged on, cracks appeared in the family's front. Cousin Sarah reached out secretly, meeting Theodore at a coffee shop. I believe in you, she whispered, but Dad threatened to cut me off. Theodore hugged her, a flicker of hope igniting. She promised to attend the fundraiser quietly. Meanwhile, his parents doubled down, hosting prayer circles against the attack on faith. Aunt Clara, however, wavered. In a surprise call, she admitted, "I miss Eleanor. Maybe she was right, we've been too harsh." It was a small victory, but Theodore clung to it. The fundraiser approached, a gala at a community center with auctions, speeches, and performances. Theodore poured his heart into it, inviting speakers from the shelter. Teens who'd been kicked out like he nearly was. Jamie emceed, his charisma drawing crowds. On the night, over 200 attended, raising thousands. To Theodore's shock, Aunt Clara showed up, alone, donating anonymously. "For Eleanor," she said, eyes misty. But the rest of the family boycotted, their absence a glaring statement. Reporters swarmed. "Will this sway the court?" Theodore smiled for cameras, but inside, doubt gnawed. Was forcing change really change? Post-event, the judge ruled. The will stood. "No evidence of undue influence," she declared. "Mrs. Thompson's conditions are unconventional but legal." Cheers from supporters, boos from opponents. The family had 6 months to comply or forfeit. Linda exploded in the hallway. "This is extortion." Theodore approached her. "Mom, it's a chance. Come to therapy. Let's talk." She turned away, but her eyes held a flicker of regret. That night, Jamie proposed over dinner, a simple ring, a promise of forever. "Through all this, you're my rock," he said. Theodore said yes, tears flowing. Amid chaos, love endured. Yet victory felt hollow. Appeals loomed, and anonymous threats arrived. Hate mail calling Theodore a homewrecker. He and Jamie installed security, their sanctuary tainted. "Is this what Grandma wanted?" Theodore wondered aloud. Jamie held him. "She wanted you seen, valued. And you are." As months ticked by, the family splintered further. Uncle Bob disowned Sarah for her secret support, deepening divides. With the court's backing, Theodore focused on the therapy stipulation. A group session facilitated by a neutral counselor specializing in family reconciliation and LGBTQ+ issues. He sent invitations, hoping for turnout. "This could be our turning point," he told Jamie during a walk along the lakeshore, the wind whipping their scarves. Jamie nodded, ever optimistic. People change when faced with loss. But responses were mixed. Aunt Clara agreed. Sarah sneaked in yes, but the core, parents, uncles, resisted. "We're not brainwashed," his father emailed. The session arrived, held in a neutral office downtown. Only 4 showed: Theodore, Jamie, as support, Aunt Clara, and Sarah. The counselor, Dr. Ellis, a kind-eyed man in his 40s, started gently. "This is about understanding, not winning." Clara shared first, admitting guilt over past silences. "I loved Eleanor, but I followed the crowd." "Theodore, I'm sorry." Tears flowed. Theodore forgave, a weight lifting. Sarah confessed her fears. "I want to be allies, but family pressure." Jamie spoke of his own coming-out struggles, humanizing the other side. By end, bonds mended slightly, hugs exchanged, promises made. But the absentees? They plotted. Linda rallied a counter-campaign, petitioning to amend the will on religious grounds. "This violates our beliefs," she told a local radio show, framing it as persecution. Social media exploded. Hashtags like Family First versus Eleanor's Legacy trended. Theodore became an unwitting activist, interviewed by podcasts. "It's not about beliefs. It's about love," he said. Jamie worried. "This is draining you." Indeed. Theodore lost sleep, haunted by what-ifs. What if Eleanor had just left him everything quietly? Personal life intertwined with drama. Jamie's school faced backlash. Parents complained about a gay agenda teacher. "Stand down," his principal advised. Jamie refused. "I won't hide." Theodore admired his resolve, their love a beacon. They attended couples counseling, strengthening their foundation. "We're building our family," Jamie said, discussing adoption. Theodore dreamed of a child knowing unconditional love, unlike his youth. As the 6-month deadline neared, pressure mounted. Uncle Bob suffered a heart scare, blaming stress. In hospital, he called Theodore. "Maybe I was wrong. Come visit." Theodore went cautious. Bob grumbled apologies. "Eleanor always said you'd make us better." It was progress, but conditional, tied to inheritance. Still, Theodore hoped. The full family meeting followed at the house. All attended, tensions high. Linda confronted Theodore. "You've turned us against each other." He replied calmly, "No, prejudices did that." Grandma gave a path out. Debates raged, scripture quoted, rights defended. Sarah stood up. "I'm with Theodore. Love is love." Clara nodded. Fractures deepened. Some sided with acceptance, others clung to old ways. In private, Theodore confided in Jamie. "I feel like the villain." Jamie kissed him. "You're the hero she believed in." Their intimacy, though chaste, was profound. Shared glances, held hands, whispered dreams. As deadline loomed, half complied. Clara and Sarah at the next charity event, Bob donating grudgingly. Parents held out, risking forfeiture. The climax built. A final appeal hearing. Donnelly argued coercion anew, but evidence of partial compliance weakened their case. Judge upheld. Choices have consequences. Funds transferred to charity for non-compliers. Linda wept publicly. "We've lost everything." Theodore felt no joy, only sorrow. Had Eleanor foreseen the pain? Post-ruling, the fallout rippled. Media dubbed it the will that divided America, sparking national debates on inheritance, rights, and reconciliation. Theodore received fan mail from strangers inspired by his story, but also death threats from extremists. He and Jamie relocated temporarily to a friend's cabin upstate, seeking peace. "We need a break," Jamie said, packing bags. There, amid pine trees and quiet lakes, they reconnected. Long walks, board games, talks of marriage. "Let's elope," Theodore suggested. Jamie grinned. "Deal." Back home, family ties strained further. Linda disinvited compliers from gatherings, creating 2 camps. Sarah moved in with Theodore temporarily, escaping toxicity. "Thanks for showing me strength," she said. Theodore mentored her, sharing resources on allyship. Clara visited often, baking pies like Eleanor, bridging gaps. But his parents? Radio silence until a letter. "We've donated privately. Not for you, for Mom." It was a half-step, laced with resentment. Society's conflicts mirrored personal ones. At a panel discussion, Theodore debated a conservative pundit. "Forcing acceptance isn't real," the man argued. Theodore countered, "Ignoring hate isn't either. Wills reflect values." Applause mixed with boos. Jamie beamed proudly backstage. Their relationship deepened through trials. Jamie's unwavering support, Theodore's growth in vulnerability. A twist emerged. Leaked documents showed Uncle Bob had secretly supported anti-LGBTQ groups. Exposed, he faced backlash at work, retirement tarnished. "You ruined me," he accused Theodore in a heated call. Theodore replied, "Truth did that." Bob hung up, but later apologized genuinely, attending therapy alone. Change, slow but real. As wedding plans formed, a small ceremony in Eleanor's garden, invites went out. Sarah RSVP'd yes. Clara too. Parents? No response. On the day, under sunny skies, Theodore and Jamie exchanged vows before friends. In sickness, health, and family feuds, Jamie joked. Laughter echoed, but Theodore's heart ached for absent faces. Post-honeymoon, the estate settled. Theodore used his share for the shelter, honoring Eleanor. He wrote a book proposal, Exposed Faces, A Grandmother's Legacy. Agents bit. It promised controversy. Jamie taught with renewed passion, incorporating tolerance lessons. Yet healing lingered incomplete. At a family reunion Sarah organized, half attended. Awkward talks led to breakthroughs. Stories shared, prejudices challenged. Linda appeared late, stiff. "I'm here for Eleanor." A start. Years passed. the will's echoes fading but lessons enduring. Theodore and Jamie adopted a son, Liam, raising him with stories of Grandma Eleanor, the woman who fought for love. Family visits increased. Linda softened, babysitting occasionally, though debates persisted. "I don't agree, but I love you," she said once, a milestone. Sarah became an advocate, speaking at events. Clara volunteered at the shelter. Bob, post-retirement, reflected quietly. The charity thrived, helping countless youth. Theodore's book hit shelves, sparking discussions nationwide. Reviews praised its raw emotion, a testament to choices in the face of hate. But not all mended. Some relatives cut ties permanently. Inheritance lost a bitter pill. Theodore pondered Eleanor's intent. Unity or exposure? In quiet moments, he visited her grave, whispering thanks. Was Eleanor's use of her will to force family reconciliation ultimately justified?